Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've put out a video. I hope to see more of that happening in the future. So thank you so much for still being subscribed and still watching the content that I do put out. I have the lovely John Automates with me here today, and we are going to discuss the very recently put out Wicked 2 For Good trailer. So that came out yesterday, and my phone's going off, so just ignore that. Um, my goodness, sorry. Text messages on an iMac always are the best interrupters. um, but my first question for you before we really dive into the trailer is yesterday or 2 days ago, there was an announcement that they were like, the trailer is going to come out, but it's only going to be released in the theater.
Yeah.
And we're going to show Wicked 1, and then you'll be able to see the teaser. And at first I was like, what? Like, no. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I I don't it feels like gatekeeping a little bit, and you don't I feel like that's not necessarily in the best interest. Wicked was widely received as being great for people who may not have even been fans of Wicked or even really known about it. It was definitely great for children to go see. So it just felt like a weird, like, oh, well, we gotta. It was almost as if they wanted it to be exclusive, and I don't know if that's the way they needed to go when it comes to that.
No, and I'm glad that I guess, obviously, they were lying and, like, they were always
Yeah.
planning on releasing it later that day. I don't know if it's, like, just trying to squeeze out as much money as they can, which definitely probably worked because I did some, like, kinda looking into, like, Regal and AMC, and, like, they did have sold out shows,
Yep.
but that's kind of, like, ridiculous. So I'm glad that they did eventually show it. I think they're probably mad they didn't make a billion the first time around, but combined with
True. But
on
I
demand
mean,
and stuff, come on.
yeah, it's I don't know if it was a cultural movement, which is maybe why it didn't necessarily get to a billion. I think you need to have a little bit of that these days. And a cultural movement can be a variety of different things. Barbie and Top Gun are two totally different movies, but they did both represent like a cultural movement. I don't know if necessarily Wicked does, but Wicked did excellent
Yeah,
for what is ostensibly a musical
yeah,
that turned into a full-fledged movie.
yeah. I could see it. Maybe maybe it has better chances with the final film, for
Yeah,
people that did get to know it during the streaming era. Because, like, I remember Across the Spider Verse, the numbers were so big because I watched the first one on Netflix. I didn't see the
right.
first one in the theater, so maybe we'll see something like that.
I agree.
But neither here nor there. Let's get we're going to talk about what they presented as their first big showcase of what is to be expected to come. Oh, here it is. Okay, so we open up, and I kind of just love how, like, 1930s and 40s, like, this is, and this is
Mhm.
definitely the same exact location that we left with Alphaba and Galinda, and clearly this is where she lives now. They made choices. Glinda wants to help from within the structure of the politics and the government, and Alphaba wants to do that on the outside. I do feel like I know there were a lot of complaints from the first one. I don't know if you noticed it as well, but I feel like they did bump up the saturation levels and the overall
Yes, I've heard
cinematography.
that. I don't mind it. Uh,
Me
I
either.
don't
Like,
know.
we needed it.
Yeah, I think when you have something like this showcasing as much of showcasing as much as you possibly can when it comes to the colors and the costumes. Not, and it's not that saturation necessarily does that, but the finer points of saturation can kind of make things stand out a little bit more. I don't mind it. I can see why it would be a complaint, but I don't think the vast majority are going to complain about it.
Yeah, I think it's an improvement, and I think it's listening to the fans, and I think the
Yeah,
originals the same cinematographer that did both movies was like, "Well, I made it more muted because I wanted to feel realistic." No matter how you shoot this, though, it still looks way more realistic than the original Wizard of Oz film. I mean, with
right.
all the Technicolor they did back then. So,
Yeah.
I think this is fine, and it's a nice balance. Um this is like a really cool shot that I also enjoyed. It's the yellow brick road. It's
Mhm.
definitely happening.
Oh, yeah, they,
Yeah,
so many references in this trailer. Elphaba, like, just it's like her kind of, because there's this thing that they did. I thought the trailer was excellent, by the way. That's
yeah,
me. I know some people may not feel that way. I thought it was excellent. I believe you thought it was pretty excellent as well. But all of the hints with the narration, I thought was actually really, really good. And all the hints to the Wizard of Oz. Obviously, there's one big one that's going to be coming up. I thought it was a smart way to do it. That's why I do believe this movie is going to do better than the first one.
yeah. Those are really great points, and I think, and we'll get to it. I did love this trailer. I think there's two things that they kind of overdid, which maybe should have been left for viewing purposes, but we'll get to that when that happens. But yeah, overall, and also like seeing the yellow brick road. And I know Bonebridger did see the musical, and I'd love to ask him this, but I've always felt that Act Two, which does coincide with Dorothy coming into the Wizard of, like, the Oz, all the city and everything. They rush by things so fast, and everything's kind of just like alluded to. So I'm happy that they're really kind of taking their time to really showcase the actual timeline of events.
Right. There have been, and I think you've heard as well, like John Chu has openly talked about that there will be some tweaks and there'll
Mm,
be a little bit of differences, but he's saying like it'll be good differences, which I think if you're going to admit that there are something, kind of playing it up as no, you won't hate it. I promise you won't hate it. Is probably the smart idea rather than
yeah.
like just accept it. Um, you know, Wicked has a crazy fan base as much as many other properties have a crazy fan base, and they like it as good and they want it to be as good as possible, like other fan bases want their properties to be as good as possible. So I'm interested to see if any of those make a huge dent into what is already a well-renowned story. But well, I don't know, we'll have to see. I didn't necessarily see anything in the trailer that gave that off initially.
No, I think it's just benefits of the expansion of the world. And
Yeah.
I think I've probably talked to you guys about this before, but like the only other time that I feel like this has ever happened when adapting a Broadway show to a movie where the movie was astronomically better is Chicago. And
Yeah.
to the point where like tourists will go see Chicago, or even when I saw Chicago, like wait, like years later after the movie, I was like kind of let down. And I know
Mhm.
like at the time it was kind of groundbreaking as a play, but like the movie just elevated it so much.
Yeah.
And I feel like, Disney could probably take a cue from both of these examples because that's all you want in an adaptation. You want it to elevate the
Right.
original material instead
Also,
of make it
Chicago
worse.
was full of stars. I think about that cast, like what an excellent cast that was too back then. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Elevation is the name of the game. And these days, people are not afraid to call you out if they feel like it hasn't been elevated.
Yes.
So yeah.
These are the slippers. I think we saw them in the first. I forget when we saw them in the first film, but they are showing them again. Those are technically the ruby slippers. There was a like legal thing, and that's why the when the original Wizard of Oz came out, they oh no, it wasn't a legal thing. It's both. They wanted for Technicolor to have red ruby slippers. So in the
Mhm.
book, in Frank L. Baum's book, they were these silver slippers. And then I now think that there is a legal thing on who owns the ruby slippers. I don't think it affects either way, but it's nice that they're we get to see the OG um, slippers. And this is very cool. So like I wish this had been done in a much more visual way, which you can't do on Broadway as much, but like she's literally creating, and this is not a spoiler. I mean, we all know what happens in the Wizard of Oz, so I don't
Right.
think it's she's Madame Morrible is literally creating the tornado that brings Dorothy to Oz, which is like so cool. And I love the framing of this so
It's
much.
great. It's a great hint without it. So there are some hints that are a little bit like, okay, obvious, like, and it's obvious you just wanted to throw this in, but this one is a hint that may not even really be obvious unless you're really like looking and thinking about it. I just like the shot. It's a good shot.
Mhm. Yes. It's so weird too, and I think it might be the color grading because I know that it's not like the first film was ugly or anything like that, and they
Right.
probably did have these shots, but whatever they did in post, these shots are really much more striking than they were, and like this one as well. Like this is, it's very dark, I know, because I took kind of bad screenshots of them, but like just so gorgeous and like so like
Hmm.
far. There's a great wide shot. Anticipation. Like if she was walking down the stairs, it would have been like Cinderella, you know, or something like
Yeah.
that. Like she looks like a Disney princess in this dark, gloomy, like West Wing beast lair type of thing. Which is
Looks more
very
Disney
cool.
princess than the Disney princesses we've gotten recently, actually. But yeah, I
Yes.
agree.
Yes, John, you were so right. Oh my god. So this is the first wink wink. Well, there's been a
Yeah.
lot of them, but this is a big full on. Here's Dorothy and Toto. Which you don't get in the show, which is so great. Like they kind of just talk about it. Like, oh, there's this girl from Kansas that's like causing some chaos. Like that's all you really hear in the
Mhm.
actual Broadway show. So it's like kind of so cool to see this.
I
Um
This
yeah, what were you
shot
gonna
and
say?
this shot. So that last previous shot and
Yeah.
this shot here, I look at it and I go, okay, these are cool shots. This is the obvious, like, hey, by the way, there's a portion of me, and I don't know if we know for full on how long the second movie is. The first one was like 230, 240, I think it was. But I just wonder if there's how much time is going to be given to Dorothy and just the entire crew in general. And I do wonder whether it's a lot of time or not a lot of time. Are there going to be people who complain either way? I'm very curious about that.
I totally agree with you. And it's so the lion, which I think I have him in the next slide. That's the
Hmm.
cowardly lion that they saved. Um these are spoilers, but it's okay if you're okay with a little bit of spoilers. I'm not going to say who is who, but the Tin Man and the Scarecrow are characters from the first film that do turn into them. So it, and again, we never saw this in the Broadway show, them actually interacting with Dorothy.
Right.
So this is going to be a really interesting thing of how much we do see. And I love that you brought that up because I am also just as curious. Fiero,
Yep.
this is gonna start a little bit triggering of what I was trying to say about two things that I thought they showed too much of. I there's this during this scene, he says to Alphaba like, "I've changed," and
Hmm.
I don't know if we needed that to happen in the trailer. Like, I feel like you should still kind of be like, "Oh, well, he's with Galinda and like he's just never going to be with Elphaba, but now you see him as this like rebel, like trying to help the Elphaba side of things." I think it would have been nice to just like let that be a you see that,
Yes.
right?
You didn't need to have this because you already had the wink, wink, nudge, nudge of the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy and like all those situations. So this could have been a nice cheer moment, I think, for the movie theater going experience. That I think it's like I don't know what they get out of showing this scene, unless they just feel like they want people to feel like he's redeemed from the jump.
Right. Just keep it in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
let people find that out together because you see that they like there's a wedding, you know, apparently with
Mhm.
Glinda. So, like, I think for a trailer, it would have been much smarter to kind of just be like, "Oh, well, he's with Glinda and that's all it is, and he's with the Oz army and maybe
Right.
he's just an asshole," you know?
Plus, this is I presume that this is going to be an event movie, right? Where
Mhm.
a lot of people are going to create like a nice little event out of it to go see it. So this is one of that. This is exactly one of those moments where he passes over, where you're like, I couldn't you see your theater being like, oh, and like some
Yes.
gas or like people cheer. It's and maybe they still will. They probably still will, but you could have gotten way more authenticity, I think, from it, and it would have
Yes.
been fun.
Absolutely, and, like, there is a difference between, like, you know, anyone it's almost like seeing a Harry Potter movie and you haven't
Yeah.
read the book. It's the same thing for, like, this. So it's like it's enjoyable. Obviously, clearly, the first one was enjoyable for people that saw the show and didn't.
Right.
And, like but as a movie, the marketing, like, you know, as you said, it would have been one of those, like, almost like superhero movie moments where people are
Yeah,
cheering and stuff.
like
Yeah.
Endgame when Captain America like Avengers Assemble. It's like you didn't want to show that. because
No.
you got the cheer. It was authentic. So, but maybe it'll still happen. It'll still happen.
Yes. And the next portion is what I also thought they did a little too much of was the song For
Mhm.
Good, which yes, it's the title of part 2. It's probably the most important song of act 2. It is at the very end and it's a very conclusive song, and I feel like they were trying to like hit us over the head with this a little too much in the trailer of like, yes, we both needed each other and we are the way we are because of both of us, and we're just going to
Right.
play like the majority of this song, where that song really has a huge impact if you really haven't heard it before, or if like maybe you have like little hints of it, kind of like they did with Defying Gravity for the trailers for the first movie. um so it doesn't bother me, but I would have probably shortened that a little bit. I think this is really gorgeous and cool of this kind of the stars and space and things like that, and them kind of like transcending time on this broomstick. But you know, and then
Well,
her delivery. Sorry, you go first.
I will say one thing about that because I agree with you, but I feel like I understand why they did it.
Mm,
Um, as you go through the trailer, they also is the other song. There's another song being played as well. Is that No Good
yeah,
Deed? I think so. As you go through the trailer and they start to kind of you hear the narration, you hear the song renditions, but then you also see how they frame the trailer dialogue or the trailer text, if you will, and it's like real heavy emphasis. It's almost as if it's emphasis on, hey, this isn't a trilogy. This is a continuation. And you want to see us, and it's like they're trying to really push the fact that you won't get anything else after this. And they want you to see the theater experience because this is the only time you're really going to be able to get that experience. That's what it felt like they were trying to do. Whether they do or not, whether that works or not, but, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I feel like I could see it working here.
that's honestly a really great way of looking at it, and it is putting that urgency of like this is the last
Yeah.
time you're going to be able to experience this world in the theater. And I didn't think about that, and actually now I agree with you on that. Yeah, uh, I love that. Um, and as well as I think her delivery on the line where I think Elphaba says like something like I've you're my only friend or something like that, and
Hmm.
then she gives this like, and I have so many friends, and it's this like it's almost like she's like she knows she's been an asshole to everyone, and like she
Yeah.
knows that Elphaba's been her only friend, and it's like this sarcastic moment that I thought was just so well delivered by Ariana. Um, and then I have two final shots, and I think it's cool that the trailer ends on kind of like these iconic views of both Elphaba and Glinda in what you would kind of imagine if they were to remake the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Like this to me is straight up like Wizard of Oz of how you viewed the Wicked Witch of the West as the audience, at the time.
Yes, actually, that's a good way to put that. Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly, and it's a great looking shot, actually.
Yes.
Um, it's almost as if this is what your imagination would have had when you first watched the original Wizard of Oz. Where like how like especially if you're a kid, like your imagination might even if you're seeing something on screen. Star Wars, the original Star Wars is like this. It's like we saw Obi-Wan fight Vader, but if you're younger, you might envision that to be even bigger than what you're seeing. And I feel like Wizard of Oz kind of had that, and this is like this is what it you probably thought it looked like, or this is a good imagination piece. It just looks good. I like it. It's a fantastic looking. I don't know. I like everything about it. To be fair.
Yes, it's like it's kind of like, oh, we didn't know watching The Wizard of Oz, like, oh, like those monkeys were like put through like
Yeah.
abuse and she saved them and she's the good, it's just so great. I love seeing this because then you see this shot
Hmm.
of her, and that's like how she first meets Dorothy. I think in the first film she's in a bubble, but I think she's in like a blue dress or something. It's not this exact dress from the Wizard of Oz movie. So it's kind of like the two things that we both visualize the most from the Wizard of Oz movie are how we're being shown
Yeah.
both of those characters at the end, which is I think is just really cool.
And it's a
So
nice distinction too between that shot and this shot. Like a
yeah,
really good distinction.
Yes, and she looks like she's so innocent and pure and lovely,
Right.
and she's definitely got a lot of other things going on, that's for sure. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be, it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting for both of us to see how they market coming, like, till November when it comes out.
Mhm.
Um, I don't I personally don't think they have to spend as much money as they did for the first movie. Like, I'm sure they'll spend a lot, but I think now that everyone kinda knows what this is, they don't necessarily have to go as insane as they did.
I agree. I wouldn't even be surprised if they went a little bit harder for the first film to try and get as many people who may not have known, but now you hear about, to try and just get that out there. And there's a little bit of like, are you going to rent it out and such, so on and so forth, and just to get people to have the wants because you already got your fan base, right? The
Yeah,
people who saw the first one, 90% of them are probably going to want to come back and see the second one, finish it off. So try to get new ones by promoting that first one a little bit might actually be a little bit more helpful, because nobody really wants to come in the middle of a movie. Or
right.
yeah, well,
No,
yeah, because technically I guess it is one big, so no one wants to come in the middle.
no. I wonder if they're gonna show, like, maybe closer to well, I don't know when they would do this, but I feel like they might even, like, do some type of double feature thing where you could see both movies when this comes out,
Ooh,
like, back
that
to
would be
back.
interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder. I mean, you're looking at like 5 6 hours, but like if you're
Right.
really into it, you don't care.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah. If you give an intermission and, like, you get people to get, like, drinks and food and snacks,
Yeah.
maybe it
Or
wouldn't
or
be
it's a
all of them.
situation or it's a situation where they do release this and then a year from now or 2 years from now, it's like some special, release
Yeah.
where it's like you can do all of that, which honestly could be pretty cool in some of the theaters that do have lunch spots, dinner spots, things like that, where you could have that intermission. So I agree with that.
Yes, I'm not even gonna get into the fact that I've been told that there are people going to see, Wicked on Broadway, and they leave after act 1 because they don't want any spoilers for the film.
It's just so crazy. It's not cheap. It is not a cheap show to go
No,
to.
it's not. So,
Sheesh.
but, to each their own, I guess. That sounds absolutely crazy, but they're out there apparently, so, but yeah, thank you so much. I don't know if there's anything else you wanna add or anything you want, people to know about, if you have any cool stuff coming out, but
I will say this, I think it could do better. I do think it could do better. I know sometimes it's the second movie doesn't do better, but every now and again the second movie does. And I think this is one of those where I would bet more on it doing better. And let's be honest, we all hope it's good because the first one was good. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's very smart placement where they are right before Thanksgiving in
yeah.
America at least. And yeah, I think it'll be good. So we'll see what happens, and we'll probably talk about it after it comes out.
Yes, I'm sure we will. Thanks so much, everyone, for stopping by. And thanks so much, John, for joining me on this discussion. And we'll see you all next time.